Today's episode is brought to you by the amazing people at DraftKings Sportsbook. You know, the NFL's official sports betting partner. Yes, indeed. Safe, secure, and reliable. And ladies and gentlemen, for the big game this weekend, they have something awesome going on, ladies. Yes. I'm talking about a super duper 56-1 odds on the big game. You bet $5, you'll win up to $280 in free bets. All you have to do is pick either the team from LA and they win, or the team from Cincinnati and they win. It is that simple. But, Deke, you got to use the promo code. And the promo code is MOATS. It is that simple. MOATS. You use that promo code, you put that bet in there, and you win it on the big game. Poo-wee. Then after that, man, you listen to our advice and make you some more money.
I'm excited
when
for
you
some
repurpose
of these
that
props
money
for the big game.
Absolutely. So that's how it's going to be. And shout out to DraftKings. But we also know this. When you're making money or attempting to make money, sometimes that quest can be a little tough. Sometimes you could get lost.
You're chasing the purple dragon.
Yeah, you're chasing it and you can get lost on that road. You feel me? Mm-hmm. All I would say is this. If you happen to know someone with a gambling problem, maybe they need crisis counseling or referral services, and they're located in New York, they should probably just call 877-8-HOPE-NEW York or HOPE-NY. Excuse me on that one. Once again, it's 877-8-HOPE-NY. All right? That's if you're located in New York. Now, Deke, if you're located anywhere else, you know what you need to do?
I'm not located in New York.
Well, you better call 1-800-GAMBLER. I say, you better call 1-800-GAMBLER. Still interviewing Louis Riddick, man. He is the new talk right now. Well, obviously, this is before we had some even more information that came up today as well. But reports, I think it was with Ian Rappaport, Jerry Dulac, I think I saw his name attached to it as well, that the Steelers were planning to interview Louis Riddick. Louis Riddick, most people know Louis Riddick, but we'll give him a little breakdown of him. He's currently been serving in a role as an ESPN analyst. He's been doing Monday Night Football, but dating back to 2013 was his last year in the NFL as an executive. He was the director of pro personnel for the Philadelphia Eagles. He also served in that exact same role with the Washington Commanders, formerly known as whatever we want to call them. But he's been a director of pro personnel in two spots. He's been an assistant director of pro personnel in two spots as well. And he also played in the NFL for 8 years, graduated from Pitt, was a running back. So a lot of, history and all these other things to attach to his name in this situation right here. But I guess just first, your initial reaction to it, man. Do you like the fact that they were interviewing him? And, how do you feel about it?
Oh, yeah. Many reasons to it. I like Louis Riddick on TV.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty good. Every time he's talking, I'm like, this dude knows what he's talking about. Breaks it down really good. So there's that. Number two, he's familiar with Pittsburgh. I mean, he went to the best college in America here.
Hell to Pitt. We big Pitt fans. And, well, actually, can I still be a Pitt fan now that my team is 1A?
I don't know.
I don't know, bro. This is kind of this is new territory for me. You can say I haven't been in the 1A vein for too long, so it's new to me. So hell to Pitt-ish. Okay,
You trying to jump over?
I like support whoever I'm with. Earlier, I was with a WU guy. I was hollering West Virginia. Man. I'm with you. It's Sweet Carolina now. All right, we good, man. You know how my loyalty is. I'm janky.
You're gonna be loving the backyard brawl.
You dang go right out here. Yes,
sitting on the sidelines.
Yes, man. I'm be back and forth.
Be going.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a bunch of ammo for that one.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. Then he has prior experience with those two teams and front offices. I just like the fact that we're interviewing dudes from the outside, and it seemed like Louis Riddick, the past 2 or 3 seasons, has been a pretty decent GM candidate. So we have him, and you combine that with some of the other dudes that they've been interviewing too, who I think are pretty good. I guess we'll get into that later, but no, I don't think there's anything wrong with this interview at all. I really like it, actually.
Yeah.
Could bring a fresh set of eyes too.
No, without a doubt, man.
From the outside.
Without a doubt. And for me, man, some of the things when I think of, and like I said, just solely focusing on the Louis Riddick element of it first, right? Before we start talking about how that impacts other candidates in-house and out-house, or outside of the organization. I don't want to say out-house, just doesn't sound as nice.
Right.
But the thing that I also like about Lewis is, number one, even though he's been away from the executive role as a front office, he's still been involved in scouting, because as a person that's done color commentary, you have to study these players. You have to know their strengths, their weaknesses, their tendencies. You have to know organizationally history about these guys. You also need to know about coordinators. So there's a lot of diversity that goes into his education of the current group of football players, right? Because when you hear people say that, man, they scouted or they were in the scouting department, but this guy might have served in this role 20, 30 years ago, you're like, man, the game has evolved drastically since then. You know, when you think about back then, guys using, fullbacks predominantly, big bruising inside linebackers predominantly, whereas now it's a lot more about athletes. It's a lot more about playing in space. He is a guy that can relate to that. He was a part of building up some of these newer style rosters. The one that highlights the most is in Philadelphia in terms of the dream team. You remember that season? Yeah, he was one of their main people in terms of accumulating some of that talent there. So I do like that part.
Just didn't work out.
It didn't, but it was more so, I think, because they oversold it. You can't come in giving yourself a dream team.
That was
name.
Vince Young, the backup.
Yeah, Vince Young was the backup. He's like, bro, you can't say dream team when we know what the dream team was. Like, when you throw out a dream team, you're supposed to be smacking people by 3+ touchdowns.
That was like Derrick Rose a few years back when he went to the Knicks and said, we have a big 3.
Like, absolutely. It's like,
who was on that roster,
bro, that's not what you have. You can't say that. Yeah.
It was, man, because they got awesome too on defense.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, man. At running back, Shady McCoy. They even had the young Pit boy, Dion Lewis was the backup.
Was he?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, they had talent, man. They definitely
had good
did.
Corners. They had good edge rushers. Their problem was linebackers. But yeah, that team kind of.
But you also remember that's when they took the offensive line, the O-line coach made him the defensive coordinator there as well. And then they shifted.
What?
Yes, dude. Because that's
I remember that.
Yeah,
wow.
And that's when they also changed their defensive. Instead of playing like a regular 7 and 6 technique where you're inside the tight ends is better against the run, they went to the wide 9. I don't know if you remember hearing about that with like Jason Babineau, Trent Cole. They would have great gaudy sack numbers, but when teams started to run the ball, it kills you because you got 2 empty gaps right there, and you got a linebacker trying to fill both of those things. It was just not good for what they were trying to accomplish. Now they got that figured out. Now they bumped them DNs back into 6 and 7 techniques. Way better. But as a whole, I do like the fact that with Lewis, though, sticking with him, he has been in, like I said, he's been involved or been around scouting, and he's been in a situation where he's been able to have more of a bird's eye view versus when you're a part of an organization, you're solely focused on finding guys that fit this scheme. Not just, hey, man, let me just view talent. Let me just see good, bad. Less about this has got to be a 3-4 or this guy has to fit Keith Butler. He has to fit Matt Canada, where it's more hyper-focused. So in a sense, I do think that also is a benefit for him as well.
Yeah. I think it would be a good hire. I don't see any downsides to it outside of him just being away from the game a little bit. But the experience in the front office, out of the guys we're interviewing, out of like Brandon Hunt, Omar Khan, I think Louis Riddick's just as fine of a candidate, in my opinion.
Well, and I was going to ask too, man, and like I said, I'm just talking about these 3. We'll talk about these 3, and then after that, we'll get to the other guys that were mentioned as well. But when we talk about a Louis Riddick versus a Brandon Hunt versus an Omar Khan, from your perspective, like, what do you feel of the 3, like, when you're ranking them? Like, how would you go about that ranking and why?
I just feel T1 right now for all of them. It doesn't really matter to me.
Okay.
Because each one of them have their pros and cons. Now, with Louis Riddick, it's just being away from the game a little bit. We haven't seen him as we haven't seen him any of them as the GM, but he hasn't. What was his role? You said it was
director of
so how close is that to GM? Is it backup then?
In theory,
is it like Brandon Hunt's spot right
yes,
now?
he's Brandon Hunt. He was Brandon Hunt for Washington and for Philadelphia.
Okay, yeah. So for him then, his pro is the fresh set of eyes, has the same experience as like Brandon Hunt and Omar Khan in the front offices. And then with Brandon Hunt, he's more the scout, not as much the numbers guy. Omar Khan, numbers guy, not as much the scout. But all 3 of them are deserving of a candidacy for a GM spot. You're seeing them do interviews. Louis Riddick a couple years back. Various teams, and then you're seeing with Omar Khan, Brandon Hunt, their time's up now too. It's just a matter of time. Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be 2 or 3 years? Yeah. So yeah, I'm good with anyone. I just like the fact that we're interviewing outside dudes right now. Like if we interview Louis Riddick, the dude from the Colts, like a couple dudes from the Colts, the Titans, and we decide oh, we're going to go with Omar Khan, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Whatever, because I think he's qualified. And we did our due diligence. I just like the process that we're doing right now, honestly. That's my main thing.
Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. And, man, whew. You know what?
Out of those three, I'd lean Louis Riddick, though.
Well, since I asked you that, we'll ask the chat the same question, man. Of those three candidates, you're Louis Riddick, Brandon Hunt, Omar Khan, how would you rank those three in terms of who you would want to hire to be the Steelers GM between those three guys? Brandon Hunt, Omar Khan, and Louis Riddick. Put it in the chat so we can see that, please.
Maybe I'd lean Louis Riddick just because I've seen him on TV and how he handles himself.
Gotcha.
Maybe that's why I'm leaning it. But who knows? I mean, some people are saying the optimal scenario. I don't know if this would happen. We hire Louis Riddick, and then we got Omar Khan and Brandon Hunt coming back too.
So for me, man, I look at it like this, dude. I don't see a scenario where you bring in Lewis and you're able to retain Hunt and Omar Khan for longer than one season. Because for both of those guys, all three of those guys have been in the same sense. They have developed, they'd
probably even just go for another team at the same spot.
Absolutely. Because think about this. Imagine if, you're the homegrown kid, right? You're Brandon Hunt, you're Omar Khan, you're essentially my son. You're Gray. All right. So I didn't cultivate Gray. I didn't develop Gray from a scout. Now he was assistant director of pro personnel. Now he's the director of pro personnel. But then I've been hearing about this kid named Eric. He lived around the corner. Not no Eric. Eric, man, local kid, man, did great, man. He's been, he went over to that part of town. That part of town, he was highly successful. And now he's coming back over here. Now, imagine if now it's time for me to hire and appoint somebody here. And I'm like, man, I got my son who's been homegrown this whole time, but I'm going to pass him up for the outside candidate and still expect my son to still be here. Still expect him to be loyal. Still expect him to work with you and essentially work under you. That's hard. Like for B Hunt, Omar, like that would be tough, man. So that's my only, like the biggest reason why I just don't see a scenario where we can keep all three.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And even when we talked about trying to make the weird titles, right? Oh, he's the or assistant, or he focuses on this, and we give him a nice increase pay wise. We said the negative of that is, when they go to leave this organization to officially become a GM somewhere, they're not going to be able to talk about this brother-in-law situation where, hey, even though this was my title, I still was doing this, but this is my title. No, that's not how it works. They're going to look and say, what was your title there? You weren't titled general manager. So no, you have not been a GM. And that will continue to cap them. That will continue to hurt them in terms of them just trying to advance in this scene. But the reason for me, man, in terms of how I would rank them, I would go Lewis. Then I would probably go Hunt and then Khan. The reason I rank it like that is for Lewis. I think that he's ahead of both of those guys because he's been in this process a year or two before those guys. He was the first guy going around doing the whole interview process, trying to get into the GM spot. That's a big reason why he even went to TV, because when he kept getting passed up on, it's just like, man, there's nothing here for him. So he did the TV thing with hopes that he would come back around. Obviously, got the situation with the Giants where I think they interviewed him, but obviously they went with Dave Gettleman. We saw how that turned out. So for him, I mean, obviously it's a lot of frustration, and he's been one of the people that have been related to the Rooney Rule when they talk about passing over qualified candidates who have worked up, who've cut their teeth and done everything that you would want, but continue to get passed up over by questionable candidates. So for me, I lean him because I say, man, you're a year or two ahead in this process. Whereas Omar started getting these interviews, a year, maybe 2 years ago. And then Hunt really, I think he had one last year, but this is like his first real year of feeling that.
Yeah.
So that's why for me, I lean Lewis first. But the reason I have Hunt number 2 instead of Omar, even though Omar has a little bit more experience in this vein, is because Hunt is a football guy in terms of he understands how to view talent. He understands how to scout. And I think that is critical. But the reason I slightly like Lewis a little bit more as a scout than I do Hunt is because Lewis also has playing experience at the NFL level. And when you hear Louis Riddick talk, the reason why it's kind of like divided a little bit with him in terms of his commentary style, he speaks football at an extremely high level. He speaks it, like doctorate level football speak. I love it. That's the language I like to speak in. But casual listeners, not everybody wants to hear that. Some people want to hear just, the dumbed down version of it. They don't want to hear about the different techniques and the minutia of cover 2 versus Tampa 2 versus
he's
2
great
man.
on TV.
Right.
I don't know what people are thinking when they
I
don't
love
like
it.
him.
Dude,
Yeah.
I love it. But that is some of the things that, he's too, I don't want to hear all that. That's too smart. I don't want to hear all that. But to me, you get that by being out there. You get that by having to, I mean, you look at his career. He played for multiple teams in the NFL. When you're doing that, that means you're not an elite talent. That means you're not the A1 perfect prospect. So you have to figure out how to have success, how to live in this league. And that's why typically those type of players usually get into coaching, usually get into executive roles, and they excel there because they understand how hard it is. They understand all the little things matter. I mean, shoot, I'm a prime example of it. That's why, you get that just verse mindset of that, because you have to educate yourself like that. So that's the other reason why I lean a little bit more Lewis. But honestly, I still wouldn't hate it if they went Brandon Hunt or Omar Khan instead of him, because of what we said earlier in terms of those two guys being homegrown, those two guys getting their start here, and we actually seeing them develop.
And you're bringing in some really good candidates for competition. That's the thing we didn't really expect to see.
Yeah.
Steelers are surprising us a little bit this offseason.
This is very true, man.
But yeah, with
very
Riddick,
true,
I think for me it's just because I've seen him on TV. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely, man.
He's out there. I become familiar
with
him.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
For me, it's different because I have the intimate relationship with Hunt and Omar just being a part of the organization. So it's like I can't things that I can vouch for, having conversations with them and their football intellect is different for you because you haven't even heard those guys. Yeah. Whereas like you hear Lewis. Yeah. And I think that's the part that's a little bit different. But Lewis, man, exceptional mind. I think we definitely know that just by, like you said, watching him on TV and stuff. But let's see what they have to say in the chat though, in terms of how they would rank these particular candidates, man.
I got to read this one.
Uh-oh.
I don't know where this dude's mind is with this comparison. Mm-hmm. Mason is like Russell Westbrook right now. What?
I don't know. I can't help you if I'm on the bench. I wanted to help you guys. No. Ho. Yeah, I'm gonna need some. Yeah, we need some explaining. how the heck is Mason?
I would like to hear the comparison.
Yeah, I'd elaborate. Well, I almost opened up the phone line for that one. Like, call us and explain this.
Russ, extremely talented, like reckless with the ball.
Yeah.
Mason, I think we'd all say talented, but actually
not
would rein
reckless.
it in.
Yeah, very much not reckless with the ball.
He's been like a backup his whole career, whereas Russ, like right off the bat, has been, I would say like a 10-time All-Star.
Russ has reached stardom.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Russ has reached league MVP. Russ got all, like the all-time stat of averaging a triple-double for a season. Like, man, Mason ain't got nothing like that. Why?
I want to hear what he says.
I'm interested in this one. I don't want. We ain't shooting it down. We just need some clarity.
He's saying go look at the stats. I don't know what that means. He needs to put more.
I would say what stats we talk. Man, yeah.
He's maybe saying this year's stats.
Oh,
like they're down. Mason's stats are down. I think that's the comparison.
We compared peak low for Westbrook versus like
still what, like
maybe
17,
versus like maybe like a best case scenario for Mason right now that it's an open competition that we're talking about.
Now I do think with Russ a lot of those stats are empty, but
fair, yeah, but they're still there though. Like I don't have an issue with empty stats when we're comparing it to a person that doesn't even have the empty stats.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know if I see the comparison.
That's garbage time. I'm like, well, what does it have to say about this guy who doesn't even have that then?
It was the QB. Yeah, like Jared Goff last year, I think. Not last year with the Lions, last year with the Rams. I think he almost threw for 5,000 yards.
He did.
Empty stats.
Yeah.
Cool. So, but you're right. Mason doesn't have a 5,000 yard year.
He don't even have that. Yeah.
4,000 yard year yet.
Like we can't even say, oh, he has an empty stat season. He don't even have that. That's what I'm like, man, yeah, all right. But
I'll keep tabs on it.
Yeah, you definitely look for that. All right. Ladarius Williams, though, he says Brandon Hunt first, Lewis Riddick at number 2, Omar Khan at number 3. All right. We also have Cam saying that they would go Lewis Riddick at number 1, Omar Khan at number 2. Then they're going Brandon Hunt at number 3. All right.
I got Jason Hess. He says 1 Hunt, 2 Riddick, 3 Khan. He's with you. He says, I want any of the scouting guys over the number guys. Even the Colts and Titans candidates. The Colts and Titans candidates were good calls. Mm-hmm. How they built their teams over the past few years, they've exceeded expectations. The Colts' problem was the quarterback, but they have an awesome team around them. And then the Titans, to be relevant.
That Colts team, yeah. Yeah,
For the Titans to just be relevant over these past 3 or 4 years is amazing to me. After the Mariota era, Tannehill building up a roster around him, Derrick Henry situation where he's going off. I mean, those are two that I really like.
Now, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. All right. We also had Tony Carlson. He says Brandon Hunt at number 1, Louis Riddick at number 2, Omar Khan at 3. Oh, but here we go. We got 2 right here back to back. Tony Carlson and the Cookie Monster both. Or no, excuse me, not Tony Khan. Know Your Boy and the Cookie Monster both have Omar Khan as their leading candidate, Louis Riddick as number 2, and then Brandon Hunt at number 3. So they put a little bit more value on the numbers in their predictions right there.
Yeah. He's pumped about Riddick. 1 Riddick, 2 Riddick, 3 Riddick.
I can dig it there, man.
Mason, the franchise, even says 1 Riddick, 2 Riddick, 3 Riddick. Someone else has Khan at 1. Colton Hardy, he says Khan 1, Riddick 2, and then Hunt at 3.
Okay. And I see the people calling for the poll. So you know what? We ain't gave him the poll a minute. Let's give him the poll.
This is for
just the 3
GM
candidates.
question.
Yeah, just the GM part. Yep. So you keep reading through though in terms of what people are, in terms of how they're ranking them, and we'll go from there.
Sajon Patel has an interesting list here. I borderline agree with him. Number 1, Deke. 2, Riddick. 3, Khan, and 4, Hunt. Dude, we'd still have an AJ Green contract if I was GM.
Oh, Lord. Here you go, bro. I already figured, man.
We'd have dead cap probably from
AD
AJ
would
Green.
be here. Martavis would be here. L. Bell would be here. I'm trying to think. Josh Gordon. Nah, you probably cool on Josh.
There'd be a mutiny on me.
Des Bryant would be here.
Josh Gordon? No, I'd want Josh Gordon.
Okay, so Josh Gordon would be here as well. I'm trying to think who else is on that list, man. Here.
No, I'm over Des Bryant. He's too washed right now.
Okay, yeah, we don't want him then. Nah.
Over Des Bryant. But, I mean, right now, this would be crazy season for me, crazy off season for me at least.
Oh man, a ton of money too. Yeah, you lose your mind out here.
Quarterback scenario. I'm left and right. One day it's Kyler. Now let's trade for Russ. Let's draft Malik Willis. I'd be all over the place.
All right, now I will throw this out there. I might have spelled. I'm gonna just triple check. I think I might have spelled Brandon Hunt's name wrong. I don't know if it was an EN or an ON. I put ON. Looks like I've spelled that. Don't. Ooh. Oh, I spelled that right. Yeah, boy, I better give me some love there, baby. All right, pull it up. Here we go. Bam. Who would you want?
We would have Stephon Gilmore if I was here, though.
We definitely would.
I don't think we trade for Witherspoon, though. I don't have that type of scouting that was looking for Witherspoon
you don't have
in the weeds. No.
Witherspoon is not your class of scouting, man. Not at all.
It's not, but after we got him, it was because high upside guy,
this is true.
The talent, third-round pick just didn't work out. But I don't think I would be putting that much effort in.
Yeah.
I would have to have good people under me to report that.
I can see that.
Like, as soon as someone reports that to me, then I make the trade.
Fair enough.
I don't know if I'd hire good people under me, though. I'd probably just have my boys.
I can see. Just running with a motley crew over there. Golf and White Claws. That's all we be talking about.
Yep.
I did have a question for you, though, as the poll is up right now.
Bettis would be here.
Jeez. And Ben would be on a lifetime deal. Yep, that's the other part of it. Ben would have a lifetime contract.
He could take like 2 years off and then just come in. You want to be starter this year?
Don't worry, man. It's all you.
We have Brady on the roster.
Yeah, don't worry.
Brady immediately.
Yeah, don't worry. It's all you. No offensive coordinator either. Never offensive coordinator.
Get rid of the backups.
Yeah, call it. You got it. Don't worry about anything. But what I wanted to ask you though, because with Louis Riddick being a former or a current TV analyst, we've seen, some of the other guys come out of the TV booth into the GM or front office role or even coaching role, and it's been a mixed bag of success, whether you're talking Mike Mayock, John Gruden, obviously guys like Tannenbaum, he's still in the conversation, stuff like that. Like,
was he TV before Dolphins?
I'm not 100% sure.
Either way, he wasn't a good GM.
But just in that vein, do you have any type of reservations or concerns with him being in TV right now?
No, I don't, because if Gruden doesn't get the whole scandal going on, I mean, he probably leads the Raiders to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they were, 8-8 or 7-9 the first 2 seasons. They were in like a rebuild a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think Gruden was fine. It's not like he lost anything when he came back. If anything, he was losing it as he was going out. Like his last 3-4 seasons with Tampa were dismal.
Yeah.
He won that Super Bowl and then it started going downhill in the late 2000s. Mike Mayock, I don't think he had any front office experience at all.
Yeah.
I think he was a draft guy.
He was always a draft. Him and
I could be wrong on that though.
But
was he a scout for TVs early on? Let me look it up.
Mayock was the big draft guy. Him, because it was always him, McShay, and Kuiper. Those were always like the big names.
Because Mayock, I don't know if he was on ESPN like 10 years ago, but he moved to NFL Network. He became like their main guy.
But he knew all the draft stuff. That was his name, man.
Born in 1958. Broadcasting career. Yeah, it just says broadcasting career.
Yeah.
With him.
So maybe he was strictly
played high school
TV.
Football. We selected him as a safety in the 10th round of the 81 NFL draft.
Wow.
After his release, signed with CFL in the 81 season, so he couldn't cut it here in Pittsburgh, and played in one game for being released, then returned to the NFL in 82-83. Played first 2 games of the season. So this is all in the 80s, just talking about his football career.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in commercial real estate for 18 years, and then he broke into broadcasting.
Yeah, dude. So.
Covering college football. So he was never in the front office. So that's why with Riddick, I just think it's a different scenario.
No, fair enough then. That's actually good info, too. I didn't know that.
He did what you said, basically. He was looking for the GM spots, in 2013?
Yeah.
And just things weren't working out. So why not go to TV, build a brand for yourself? And he's done well.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, man. He definitely has, man. Definitely has. All right, let me go check in on this here poll.
Do you have any thoughts about it?
In terms of him being a former TV guy coming out the booth,
because it's not like Gruden
put it like this,
like a terrible coach when he came back. Like I said, he would have been in the playoffs this year.
For every concern that I could talk myself into having, the flip side is still, if those guys got that opportunity, I still feel like he deserves that opportunity to at least fail, because we wouldn't know if he could do it or not do it until he got that opportunity, and he is definitely qualified, and that's my other part. It's like,
I don't get
see
why,
the qualifications, right?
Here's my thing, though. I don't get why him going to TV between 2013 and now should drop his stock at all. Why would that drop his stock?
Well, no, because people will hit you with this. Well, he hasn't actively been in that role. But the reason why he hasn't actively been in that role is because the door kept getting shut in his face. And then to continue to ask the guy that, hey, man, you've done this in Washington. Now you've done it again in Philly.
Sometimes that's not always a good thing.
Right. Hey, go to New York and do the exact same role. It's like, nah. Eventually, you kind of get fed up with it and you want to do something different. You know what? I'm tired of walking into closed doors. Let me go over here and then try it again later. 18, he tried it again and still got closed on him. Now he's coming back again for this go around. So for me, man, when I think of that, like, it's not a negative to me. It's the product of what people are fussing about in terms of that whole Rooney Rule situation and just trying to get more diversity in some of these executive roles. So for me, man,
I view it more as a positive.
I personally
people
do as well.
People will blame it on that if he doesn't succeed, but no, as of right now, I think it's a fresh set of eyes.
Absolutely. And I just like I said, big picture, because like with Brandon Hunt and Omar Khan, they've been in their roles and they're currently in their roles, but they've exclusively been focusing on how to make the Steelers better, which is important without a doubt. But at the same time, you could be a little bit pigeonholed in your perspective, a little bit pigeonholed in terms of the style of players that you would even think to look at, because you're so hyper-focused on Pittsburgh. Whereas for Lewis, you said when you're having to do that every week, and it's different teams every week, different players, schemes, coordinators, philosophies, you just have to stay very sharp in more big picture, broad, a lot more concepts without necessarily having that ultimate, intimate knowledge of just one particular team. Like I said, both can be viewed as pros, both can be viewed as cons. But with Lewis, I was, just figured it'd be worth the question.
I'm with you.